Now, the World Health Organization and UNICEF are evacuating dozens of staff working on the Ebola epidemic from the town of Beni in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Violence has been spiralling for weeks now. DRC is in the grips of the world's second largest Ebola epidemic on record. The worst affected areas are in the east of the country, in the provinces of Ituri and North Kivu. Since the outbreak was declared last August, more than 3,300 people have been infected, with nearly 2,200 deaths. Well, here in the studio with me is David Greesly, who is the UN's Emergency Ebola Response Coordinator, a new role set up in the last 6 months. David, welcome here to the programme. Your reaction to that headline of the story here today, I mean, how alarming, how worrying is the fact that these staff are going to have to be pulled out?
Well, they're being relocated, but that doesn't mean that the work will completely stop. So there's work that's still ongoing in critical areas where there's still transmission. But nonetheless, this reduction in the work will have an impact and will probably lengthen the time required to finish the epidemic.
These are some of the pictures at the UN complex filmed yesterday. I mean, this sort of violence specifically aimed at aid agency, it is not new, but it has been spiking. I was reading just a quote from Mike Ryan from the World Health Organization, who said in his 25-year career, violence against health workers has never been so bad. That is a real worry, given what you're grappling with on the ground. It's
a serious problem. We've seen it in Beni and we've seen it in cities of Butembo, but also some of the rural areas outlying. There's a number of problems in the area that we have to confront, from criminality, armed groups that do operate sometimes with criminal networks. So it's complicated, and we have to find solutions each time to find ways to continue the response.
In terms of the basic Ebola outbreak in DRC, where do you think we are? How perilous a position, as we're talking now, are we in?
Well, we're actually, up until a couple of days ago, we were in pretty good position. The number of cases per week back in April and May was approximately 125. We were down to approximately 5 to 10 in the last week or so. So it had declined significantly. So that progress is what's at risk. I don't think it puts at risk the fact that we will bring this eventually to an end, but it will, as I said, draw it out.
I mentioned in the introduction, yours is a new role. Just take me through the key priorities, the key challenges, because I was reading also only from a couple of weeks ago, Oxfam saying they are still meeting people every single day who still don't believe the virus exists. I mean, that is incredibly surprising given what we've seen over the years, given what we're seeing now.
Well, this is a key part of our strategy, is the communication side, to work not only on communication but actual engagement with communities on the ground. And basically we've learned that we have to go community by community and work with key leaders, religious leaders, customary chiefs, those who have influence, and open up an area for acceptance. And when we get that acceptance, we make progress.
But culturally, you don't seem to be making progress, not you in person, but generally on the ground, they don't seem to be making as much progress as quickly as you would hope on some of the key issues, the disbelief about this, and this is the second massive outbreak.
Well, I think we need to look at certain things like vaccination. 95% of the people who are offered the vaccine accept that vaccine. To me, that's an indication that there's a general acceptance of the reality of Ebola.
And how, hopefully, we're seeing pictures of exactly that on the screens, because we've got a couple of trials going on. How optimistic are you around that whole area of vaccines?
Well, I think it's an important tool, and not only the vaccines, but also the treatment that have been introduced in the last months. Those are two important tools that did not exist in West Africa. I'm confident that the vaccine program has slowed the expansion in this area, which has helped contain it. And I think the treatment will be a very positive thing for people who want to see going to a treatment center to live rather than a place that you might go to die.
Back in 2014, that massive outbreak we had in Guinea and Liberia and Sierra Leone, the world was so slow to actually react to all of that. What is different this time? Is it different this time?
Well, I think in certain ways it is different. The operational capacity has come on the ground in a much more significant way. Funding has come on for the Ebola response itself. I think where we see a deficiency right now is providing additional support for things like malaria, measles, which kills large numbers of children. We have an epidemic going on, issues of water and sanitation that people are really worried about. So we need to have a combined Ebola plus approach.
When we were talking about your new role, I mean, one of the things that we talked in depth a minute ago was about the sort of cultural aspects that still needs work. What are the other key things that you're bringing to the job that perhaps were part of the gaps last time, or that existed?
I think one of the important things is scaling up the management systems to match the magnitude of this particular epidemic. This is not a small outbreak, it's a very large one. So the introduction of management systems, financial systems, even simple human resource management systems has been very important in terms of coordinating the work on the ground. We're talking 15,000 health workers. They need to be managed correctly in order to get the right kind of outcome. So that work is really underway right now. I think that's starting to show real value. And the second thing is the focus on getting acceptance by the communities, as I've described. And the third, and I think one of the most important, is to stop chasing this virus, because we've gone from one hotspot to another, and to have a comprehensive, we need to be everywhere all the time to squeeze out this epidemic. And we're much better positioned to do that today.
Just one sentence, if you would, in terms of any sort of timeline, in terms of completely getting a grip of this particular outbreak, what is it? We're
very close. If we can get over this current problem, I think in a matter of weeks we can find the last case. But we have to keep the vigilance up, and we have to find solutions to the violence that we see today.
Well, David Greesly, pleasure to meet you, and thank you so much for coming in to talk to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, do stay with us, because here on the programme in the next few minutes, on the day the UN says we need to increase our climate change efforts fivefold, can art actually play a part? Documentaries like the BBC's Blue Planet have already increased awareness. Now a new exhibition called Meltdown hopes to promote the issue further. That story and Andy Murray, all of it coming up in a moment or two. Don't go away.